Welcome, everyone. We do appreciate you joining us tonight. And I have to say, it is a pleasure to host the Pitch Club events. We've really continued to have amazing companies that present. I know some of you are joining us tonight have attended multiple pitch clubs before, but I also know there's quite a few of you that are new tonight, and we just want to extend a special welcome to you. And I'd like to maybe take a couple minutes just to tell you a little bit about AngelMD and specifically about our pitch club events. So AngelMD is a community that is centered around the mission of advancing healthcare innovation. Central to our community is the largest network of medical startups, combined with tens of thousands of physicians and dentists. This is complemented by an increasingly large network of investors from high net worth individuals, family offices, corporate investors, and other players that are just interested in investing in healthcare innovation space. We're pleased to have each of you here with us tonight. So thank you for taking time out of your schedules. Pitch Club specifically is an event that we host every 2 weeks, and we rotate through the different medical specialties. And we do it to stimulate engagement within our community. First, we want to be able to provide feedback to these companies. We believe that the voice of the physician is critical in healthcare innovation. And so we ask you to bring your opinions through questions, as well as completing the polls after each of the presenters. This gives these companies the opportunity to get feedback on their company, their solution, and their presentation so that they can continue on a successful path. The second thing is that we want to give these companies exposure to you as well as our broader network. So we do record these sessions and we send them out to our community to be able to attend. And we actually do have a pretty large audience that watches these after the fact because they couldn't work this hour into the schedule. And we've actually seen such strong engagement there. We've expanded Pitch Club, and now we have Pitch Club Extension, which are companies who don't participate in the live presentations, but actually do recorded videos with a MC, and that MC actually is the person who asks them questions. And we're excited for this week. We actually have two companies, Bristle Health and Remy Incorporated, who will be doing the Pitch Club extension. And we will provide links so that you can access those videos as part of our follow-up email. And the last thing for why we did this is to create education. We think it's an opportunity to learn about new and upcoming technology, about the entrepreneurial process, and more. So there's many ways to get involved with AngelMD. We appreciate you guys coming tonight. We hope that you enjoy these presentations. We think they're great companies with some innovative solutions. And we will be sending out a follow-up email after the fact with a lot of information that we talk about throughout the Pitch Club. And so with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Katie Richardson, who will be emceeing the evening.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And welcome everyone. As Jennifer said, we're super excited to have everyone here tonight. And I am very excited about our three companies as well. They are very diverse. They're all in the direct-to-consumer market as advertised. So it's going to be a fun night tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. We have, for our first presenter, Caleb Polly, and he is the founder and CEO of a company called Cubby Beds. Caleb, go ahead and share your screen.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Katie. I'm excited to be here. Let me get this popped up. Last year, I met a young boy named Josh. He's fun, smart, and loved by his family, but he also has autism, and this makes life a little bit harder. Josh has a lot of issues calming down, often only gets a few hours of sleep a night, and has constant safety issues that leave him injured and his family worried. Over 80% of kids with autism have daily sleep issues like Josh, and over half have severe safety concerns like elopement, seizures, and self-injury. And these issues, they don't only affect Josh, they affect his entire family, resulting in job loss, sibling issues, and all too often, divorce. Families currently try to solve this in a few ways. The first are drugs, which are often prescribed as toddlers, can have terrible side effects, especially in combination with their other required medications. Parents are trying to make their own crude versions of our product, while the professional products are essentially glorified cages with zero technology or sensory features. But what's validating is these products have tens of millions of dollars in annual revenue and have already set up the regulatory and reimbursement pathways for us to do the same. We're taking a different approach. We build smart beds called cubbies that enable a person to completely control their sensory environment. The canopy over the top blocks outside stimuli, creating a cozy, safe space. We're then able to introduce soothing forms of sensory input, such as light, sound, vibration, weighted blankets, and aromatherapy. To help with safety, we provide 360 degrees of enclosable padding, safety sheets that prevent entrapment, and cameras linked to motion sensors that caregivers can remotely monitor. The long-term vision is to use sensors and predictive analytics to correlate outputs from the bed, such as seizure activity, heart rate variability, or sleep quality, with changes in inputs like diet, exercise, environment, or therapy. In effect, this would give a voice to the 1/3 of kids with autism who are nonverbal and can't tell you what they really need. The science from multiple studies shows that sensory dysregulation in children with autism leads to sensitivity to sensory inputs, sleep difficulty, and worrisome safety concerns. In one study with a sample size of 25, they found statistically significant differences in many behaviors, such as repetition, compulsion, and self-injury, as soon as bad sleep was introduced or was happening consistently. Cubby Beds provides a safe and controllable environment with customizable sensory inputs so it can match to any unique child, remote monitoring so the caregivers don't have to be worried, and data analytics that'll help us understand what is actually going on with these children so that we can further address their issues. So we launched about a year ago, and we've already sold over $750,000 in beds, and we're profitable. We did that on less than $10,000 in marketing spend, and over half of our beds were sold to kids with other special needs conditions than autism, like epilepsy, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. Our beds have been successfully reimbursed at $13,000, and we brought on over 25 distributors. We're manufactured right here in Colorado and are currently scaling up our factory. We filed both provisional, design, and utility patents, and we're an FDA-registered Class 1 510(k) medical device. Most importantly, we've had life-changing reviews with 10 out of 10 net promoter scores across the board and families calling our beds magic and a godsend. So we've accomplished a lot in the last 3 years since we launched. We developed over 25 prototypes and had focus groups and surveys with hundreds of families. We've won over $500,000 in non-dilutive grants from pitch competitions like Stanford, Prime Health, and the Colorado Advanced Industries Grant, as well as brought on over $300,000 in angel investment from strategic angels and institutional investors. Currently have over 10 distributors, including, well, actually we're closer to 25 at this point, including the 2 largest in the complex rehab space, National Seating and Mobility and New Motion, and we're currently scaling up our factory. That leads us into this year, where we are on track to hit over $1.3 million in sales and really starting to scale out our team and production. Next year, we'll start focusing on scaling our product offerings to be able to provide this advanced software and analytics platform, which will enable future recurring revenue opportunities. We'll also look into raising a $1.5 million seed round, which leads into that version 2 product, as well as another really large initiative, which is our direct DME supply accreditation process, which will allow us to skip the middleman, improve our margins from mid-60s to high 80%, and enable us to have a direct feedback loop with families to improve the reimbursement and product process. Finally, in 2022, we expect to expand into the geriatrics market, starting to focus on dementia, stroke rehab, and traumatic brain injury, and expect that we'll be able to hit $8 to $10 million in the next 3 years. That leads us to potential exit possibilities of large medtech or med device companies like Philips or Hillrom, and private equity companies that are really focused on the home healthcare space. We have the right team to pull this off as well. At 15, I started and scaled a 6-figure e-commerce business. And for the past 5 years, I was the top sales executive at SendGrid, which I went from startup to going public to getting acquired for over $3 billion. Donna heads up our supply chain and furniture design and has over 15 years of experience there. And Kevin, my COO, is a serial entrepreneur who's had over 5 exits, including 2 that went public. His last startup, Autism Pro, grossed over $10 million in their first 3 years before being acquired. He's also sat on the National Autism Society board and is the former president of the Autism Society of Colorado. In conclusion, we have a proven product, a proven team, a ready product. We have a broad application across both special needs and elderly populations. And with your support, we have the opportunity to make a massive impact on thousands of families around the world. Thank you.
Caleb, thank you so much. This is exciting. You have a lot of traction already, which is amazing. And being a pediatrician and having taken care of many kids with autism and other types of special needs, I can see how this would be very, very important to parents who are, needing to take care of these kids and trying to get them to sleep. So I have a couple of questions, and then hopefully we'll get a few more from our audience as well. Tell us a little bit more about your IP. And you talked a little bit about some future technology. So maybe you can tie that in as well.
Definitely. So on the IP front, first of all, we have filed 2 provisional patents, a design and a utility patent. The utility patents where we see stronger moats and barriers to entry. That is a lot around our future technology offerings of combining data that comes from sensors. So this data could be seizure activity, incontinence issues, heart rate variability, which is often indicative of anxiety, sleep quality. There's quite a few things that we can monitor here. And these patients are some of the highest cost patients in society, and we often don't understand what's working well with them. So with that, we can correlate inputs such as their changes in medication, diet, or therapy, and really understand what's going on. There's also some simpler aspects of our safety sheets, which prevent entrapment, which hardly only one competitor has at this point. Very unique product. And the design side, there's definitely some unique aspects as well of having curves in it. You can't tell very well from here, but it's actually a smiley face on the front of the bed. It is a kid product after all. And then besides patents are great, but you have to defend them. I think our bigger moats are direct-to-consumer marketing, our relationships with these families and the brand equity we can build, and ultimately that direct DME model, where if we're able to lower our price because we're not having to pay this 40 to 50% fee to these middlemen, we can offer a better product at a cheaper price and a faster timeline for reimbursement, which is really hard to beat, and it's really hard to build as well. So once we've built that, that'll be a big competitive advantage and moat moving forward.
Great. In relation, again, to this future technology, there's a question from the audience about not only will this provide you new income possibilities, but how are you going to overcome the fact that patients own their own data and not you all?
Yeah, so it'd definitely be something that we need patients to opt into and that they would want to have available to them. It'd be something that they're volunteering and opting into that system. I think a lot of them would get a ton of value out of the data that's coming from this bed and the actual results that come from that data. There's also some really interesting new coding that's come to light over the last 5 years, but has been really accelerated with COVID that allows clinicians to analyze that data remotely and actually get billed and paid for it, up to $250 a month for remote monitoring devices. So that leads to different recurring revenue streams. But the patient data, control of that data, security of that data, confidentiality is incredibly important in the build out of this process, as well as the UI. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Good question.
Great. And I would love for you to talk a little bit more about your business model and reimbursement through insurance companies. So what's the cost of the bed to manufacture? And then talk a little bit about reimbursement and how that works with insurance.
Sure. So generally our beds are reimbursed. It depends a little bit on configuration, but they're reimbursed between $10,000 to $15,000. And that's what the insurance companies are paying for. That's in line with, if not less than many of our competitors. We have to pay these distributors, which is currently how we access insurance, between 40 to 55%, which obviously takes a big chunk out of the margin. That leaves us with roughly $5,000 to $7,000 revenue per bed. We are building the beds currently for about $1,700 at our current volume. We expect to get that down to under $1,000 in the next 3 years. Currently, we're at about a 65% gross margin, but expect that we should be in the high 70s as we hit scale. Reimbursement wise, one of the biggest differentiators for us here is that we are direct to consumer. I have spent over $100,000 in Facebook ads. I have never seen communities more engaged online than these families. They share everything. We get more shares than likes on our ads, which is wild. So that plays really strong to this direct to consumer approach and enabling these families to talk to their clinicians and building software tools that make the clinician and therapist jobs easier in creating the documentation to approve our beds. Let me know if there's any other context you want there.
No, I think that was great. Thank you. So a couple of other questions from our audience. One, which I think is great, is a question around, I'm assuming that this mattress meets all of the regulations that other infant and child mattresses do to prevent SIDS. Is that true?
So that is a good question. Currently, we're using standard mattresses, hospital grade mattresses. They aren't specifically designed for SIDS. That's what we found across all of our competitors. That might be something that we need to look more into. The suffocation aspect is a really big component, and our safety sheets prevent that in terms of getting entrapped between the sidewall and the bed or burrowing underneath. But something we should explore further, and I appreciate that input.
Great. And another, I'll say our last question from the audience here. A question around the information that you will be kind of gleaning from the system once you're able to do that, and then monitoring with changes in diet and therapeutics and those types of things. What will the system be detecting, and how will interventions occur as a result? An example of that.
Yeah, so that's very open-ended. There's a lot we can do here. Many of these kids that we're working with, they spend 16 to 20 hours a day in bed. It is their home, it's their safe space, it's where all of their activities happen. So there's a lot of different things. Incontinence is a big one. A lot of the times families might go 5-10 hours even without knowing that the kid has wet the bed or had an incontinence issue. With sensors, we could detect that. Same with potentially seizure activity. Those are kind of more event-based. Longer time horizon things would be things such as sleep quality or heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is a great example of maybe they got a new stimulant medication to help with ADHD during the daytime, but as they change this medication, you're seeing a really large increase in heart rate variability, which is an indication of an increase in anxiety or stress. If they can't talk and tell you that this is happening, it's really hard to understand that this medication is making them feel horrible. I think over time, we could unlock that data and be able to actually understand a little bit more of what's going on in these kids' heads. And that will also not just provide valuable data to the family themselves, but also clinicians, researchers, and ultimately the insurance company who can see that, number one, this device is being used. Number two, this data is improving over time. And number three, it becomes a part of the ecosystem of all of the medical providers. The data coming out from the bed can help align with what they're doing on the side.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again, Caleb, for being here tonight. We really appreciate the presentation. All right. Without further ado, we're going to move on to our second presenter of the evening. So we have Amin Mobashar. He's the founder and CEO of Saina Health. Amin, go ahead. Looks good.
Looks good. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to actually present on one of the topics that was discussed in the previous presentation, patient ownership on data. At Signa Health, we collect detailed medical records for patients to empower the patients and make it simple to easily share their records with different physicians and telehealth portals. Health record data is fragmented in different portals and facilities. Patients have no control to access, merge, or share their own data when they receive care. The surge in telehealth and at-home services required more and more demand for the fragmented data by both patients and physicians. 90% of telehealth portals in the US are not connected to EHR systems. Major players have tried to aggregate patient portal information and summary reports while not addressing the access to full detailed records and physician notes. Not considering the continuity of care, this is not useful in telehealth portals for consultation or second opinion. It is not valid for data mining, one important benefit that we are trying to use. We have built a consumer-facing solution to push healthcare to the edge at the hands of any patient and physician at the comfort of their home or office. The health data should flow with the patient. To give back control to patients and empower them, one way is to integrate directly into the healthcare system, connect to the IT department of each hospital, go through the rigorous audits and logistics of integration, and at the end, it is really expensive and lengthy. We are using a procedural opportunity in the healthcare system by getting consent from patients. It is patients' rights to collect their records from all hospitals. This helps us to scale easily at the beginning because we collect the records for patients who really needs it, not implementing an integration into a system that not all the users are going to use it at the beginning. Historically, detailed health records are in hundreds of pages, full of unrelated details, which makes it difficult to understand for patients. It is not even easy for the physician to look for something in these reports. Our technology is based on AI data extraction and scraping technology for PDF files from multiple hospitals. We learn the structure and capture the data from these files, clean them, and capture the usable data for the patient, which is detailed enough for the physicians. With the digital data, now you can share any portion of this health data with physicians and facilities. This is patients' right. Patients easily have access to all their records and physician notes. This is what they see in their InstaHealth. It's clean, simple, and understandable. They can easily share this information with their physician for a second opinion, consultation, or any other regular visits. We can utilize the health history of a family to provide AI-enabled personalized risk analysis as well. To just give an overview of our suite of solutions, now patients like you are empowered to safeguard their health. You just need to register in our platform. You can easily invite your extended family and search for any facility that you have been. We are currently automated 5,000 plus hospitals. We are adding more hospitals day by day. It is just that simple for you. We do the rest and collect all your records from all the hospitals that you have ever visited. Get the control back. Now you can get the full picture of your entire medical history in InstaHealth timeline in a simple and understandable format. Another advantage of our platform is actually about having choices. Within our platform, you can easily search for physicians. You can easily share your information with your doctor for a second opinion or consultation. If the doctor is within our telehealth partners, your InstaHealth is actually seamlessly integrated into the platform and you can share your records with them. We are your advocate and provide both security and quality of experience. We have raised a small pre-seed and we have built our patient portal and it is integrated into few partner telehealth portals. Our partner pilot launch proved that our data can be extracted and it works with 80% of the hospitals in US. We automated the data collection from 5,000 hospitals from that pilot program. Our telehealth pilot launch with 2 hospitals proved that even hospitals are interested into our solution as a way to be compliant with 21st Century Cures Act. Through our partnership with Clear Data, we have built a super secure platform that is HIPAA compliant and high trust certified. We just announced our consumer portal launch. We are hoping to get 50K users and a revenue of $500,000. In the next step, we are raising our seed to expand to more hospitals and telehealth partners, build our second opinion platform, and also provide more premium and personalized services. We target 500K users with these services, and we are hoping to provide personalized risk analysis for patients and their family members and provide lower cost care with our Series A. Behind Saina Health are a passionate team that brings PhD level science and engineering expertise, software infrastructure development expertise, and over 5 years of HIPAA regulated and compliant release of medical information. We have people that have done this once with their hand, and we know all the details of this procedure. And that's how we automated the collection of full detailed physician records. We have also the right team to work on the future in deep learning and natural language processing for the medical records to be mined and provide personalized risk analysis. We are looking for help in 3 aspects from AngelMD network. Investment opportunities. We are fundraising. We are looking to get support from physicians. The next one is collaboration. We are looking for physicians to join our team to help us in shaping our product and have some paid opportunities for second opinion and consultation. And championship, the last one. We need champions to recommend our system to health systems and facilities as a service for patients. We would love to get in touch with you, and I would be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Great. Amin, thank you so much for sharing your platform with us. This is very exciting. And I got to tell you, we have some great questions from the audience. I'm actually going to start with some of those because I think they are very good. So one of those, Microsoft, Google, and others have tried to aggregate patient data. Well, why will you succeed? What makes you different?
So exactly, that's one of the key points that I also mentioned partly at the beginning, that they try to integrate and aggregate the patient portal, not the physician portal. What we are trying to do is actually get access to physician notes. What we are providing to the patients is the integration of all their medical records, which is the physician portal notes. And that's what the physician needs when they are actually seeing a patient for a consultation or when they are seeing a patient in telehealth portal. With patient portal information, it's not that useful for actually second opinion or telehealth portals.
Great. And a second question, which I think is equally good. Are you thinking of pivoting in the future? Because as we know that there are new interoperability or relatively new interoperability and patient access rules from CMS and at a state level that are being mandated. So will that make you obsolete in the future, or how might you change your model to make sure that it doesn't?
That's a really good question. As I mentioned, this is how we are doing our job at the beginning, that we provide the solution for those patients who needs it. But those mandates are actually helping us. So first of all, there are 2 aspects that we can use in this using these new mandates. First of all, hospitals and payers are looking for vendors to provide this solution in order to be compliant with these mandates. They cannot do it by themselves. They are looking for partners and vendors. 80% of the hospitals and payers are looking for vendors. So that's the place that we can come in. And second of all, when these systems, they have the API, that's the time that it's going to help us to actually grow much, much faster. With the integration with their API, we can actually provide this system for all the patients.
Great. And another question, I think the audience actually is channeling my thoughts tonight because many of these are questions that I had in my mind as well. Talk a little bit more about your business model, including kind of distribution. We are talking about direct-to-consumer products tonight, but I know you also have relationships with hospitals. So talk a little bit more about that.
At the end of the day, our product is for patients, but the way that we can get to the patients, it's through different distribution channels. One aspect that actually we are looking to get some help here is actually recommending our platform to health system and facilities. So through the doctors, we want to actually provide this solution to their patients. So in that case, the patient have access to the full medical records, and also the doctor has full access to the medical records of the patient, which he may not be able to see in his own hospital. We bring the rest of the information from other hospitals and other platforms. Second, we are working with the telehealth partners. In that case, the telehealth partner is connecting us to the hospital that we can provide information for those hospitals, and we make our information available for any physician that who are working with those telehealth partners. And for the consumer market, definitely we are working with some influencers and some advocacy groups. In that sense, as the same thing that Caleb mentioned, those people who are really needing these platforms, they are the persons who are actually becoming our ambassadors for advertising our products, the people who have diabetes, the people who have chronic diseases. These people are the people who are actually going to multiple facilities, and usually they need to collect all their information when they go to the next doctor. So we have put some pipelines to get into these channels and use actually the word of mouth from the users in those channels as well.
Great. Thank you, Amin. Thank you again for being here this evening. Without further ado, we're going to move on to our last presenter of the evening. I'd love to introduce Chad Adams, who is the founder and CEO of medtech Life. I joke with Chad while he's pulling up his slides. I call this the magic toilet. It's pretty cool. He's going to tell you actually about all of the amazing things this toilet can do. Go ahead, Chad.
All right, thank you, Katie, and it's a pleasure to join tonight and interact with this group, and I'm actually looking forward to some feedback after. One correction, the founder is actually David Hall. I'm just the president and CEO, so I was brought in to, I want to give him credit because this is one of his passions that he's brought along. So why don't we get started? I want to jump into the problem we're trying to solve. So as you well know, chronic disease is among the most widespread and costly health challenges in the US and in this nation. It's the leading cause of death and disability as well. The sad part is, tragically, most people don't even know they have a chronic illness until it's too late. I'm going to use diabetes as I walk through these slides today, but if you look at diabetics, 88 million adults, 8 in 10 don't know they have it. That's the underlying issue we're trying to get after. To address this challenge, individuals and care providers, they just need to see more visibility of their key personal health indicators. It's trended over time to enable timely prevention. And at medtech, we believe prevention through early detection is the best cure, but the solution has to be incredibly simple, convenient, and just fit into your daily life. Well, you shouldn't have to do anything different. And that's really a good introduction into medtech solution. So we're a completely passive, intelligent toilet that turns your waste into valuable wellness data. It's tracked, trended, managed by our AI engine to alert you and your physician if you choose to give access through certain epic of important changes in your health for 7 different chronic conditions. Our products are completely passive with no user interaction required. All you need to do is use the restroom as you normally do, and you can get, it doesn't get any easier than that. We also have a very strong IP position. So we already have 65 issued patents, I think it's over 50 pending now, and provisionals closer to 100 now that are planned for conversion this year. That's something that the founder, David Hall, takes in all of his startups very serious, is making sure that we can protect our technology in the marketplace. So there's been a lot of focus on that. So let me tell you how it works. So our platform is always anchored on secure data management. So data privacy and security is paramount. We're both HIPAA and GDPR compliant. As you use it to it, so a day in the life of using As you approach the toilet, you step on a scale to capture your weight and many other factors, similar to calculate BMI and of course other biometrics as well. As you sit down, key cardiovascular factors such as blood pressure, SpO2, heart rate are captured. And when you begin to urinate, a small volume is actually captured before it's diluted into the water. And many key analytes, such as urine glucose, I'll keep using that theme through the presentation, are actually measured. We use a spectrometer, so it's light-based. We also look at, and I'm not keeping up here, sorry, on the slides. We also look at key urodynamic factors, so specifically for prostate health. So the same things that you would have if you go to your urologist, say urodynamic test that they do there, we actually measure that at every time you go to the restroom. And at the end of the day, the toilet still has to be a toilet. And that is, we got to have integrated smart features. So we have to have, common things like water, hot water bidets, heated seats, all those type of things. And I'll jump back in our second version, which we'll touch on briefly here in a minute. We also have integrated point-of-care diagnostics. And so this is really important for the target markets we're going after, specifically senior living communities. And that is so that we can do a lot of the screening and monitoring assays right there in the wellness centers. So as you know, most chronic illness doesn't happen overnight. That's why we trend and report the data, over time against clinical reference ranges. Our data accuracy, the way this works, is all about trending. So our accuracy improves the more you use the facilities. So here's an example of urine glucose. Of course, this is one of the indicators we use to monitor for diabetes. You can see how the sensitivity and specificity improves over time at higher accuracy levels. This is one that actually is equivalent or better than the gold standard, which is clinical chemistry, right? If you look at the assays there. So it is very accurate. And so what does this do? This can trigger users to go to their primary care physician to share the results if they're not already doing so, and perform additional testing, diagnosis, and then if needed, go into treatment plan development. What does it do for the physicians? If a person's on a treatment plan, or even with the individuals, you can monitor its effectiveness. If they're not taking their medication, or it's not working, or they're losing, are they losing weight, or things changing, that treatment plan is no longer effective. You'll actually be able to see that within the data itself. So let's jump to the timeline. So really, we have three products. So the first one is our Guardian product, and our initial release is going to be a wellness offering. So this only provides the data. Its intended use is for assisted living community as part of wellness programs that usually are under the direction of an MD or nurse practitioners. And it is just sharing all the data. So we're not doing any type of risk analysis. We're just making sure that data is gathered and provided to their care providers. It's the same exact toilet, which is our 510K cleared version, which is very critical for the discussion tonight, which is a consumer market. This allows us to do everything, but it also allows us to identify risks and go into a little more detail, share a little more information with not only your family, if you choose to, but also with your primary care physician. Our third offering is Discover version 1.0. This has everything the first one does, except it has integrated point-of-care diagnostics and very specific assays for gold standard screening and monitoring, so that residents don't have to leave their communities or don't have to leave their wellness centers. Again, that's followed right behind. From a regulatory standpoint, we'll be submitting end of this year, early next year for our 510K. We expect approval. There's very clear predicates, and we perform very well against those in Q4 of 2022. Discover will follow right after that. We're also going into China, so we have the CFDA submissions that are going on at the same time. From a business standpoint, have to talk about that. We are currently raising our Series A, which is $10 million. Again, what we're using this money for is to continue our development and to get to our regulatory filings. We will follow that with the Series B. This will really take us into the growth stage of the company. Our exit plan is really strategic buyouts. We're working very closely with Key Kitchen and Bath, as well as other strategics to, in the 2023-2024 timeframe. our team, we have an experienced team of expertise, both developing commercialized medical devices, diagnostics, AI, deep learning, data science, also raising capital and achieving planned exits with startups before. Even our founder, he's had over 700 million in exits over the last 7 years. So a lot of experience in the business to be able to really commercialize and get this to market. I've also included my information up here. I'd love to answer any questions that don't get answered as part of our discussion tonight. Happy to talk through the technology, talk through anything else, if needs be. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Katie.
Great, thanks, Chad. We definitely have some great questions from our audience. I'm going to start with one of mine this time. You talked about the future diagnostic capabilities, which, my mind just starts, turning. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so again, our two primary markets are assisted living communities and the consumer market. Of course, the kind of the high end smart toilet markets is really what we're focused on there. For those assisted living centers, there's a tremendous amount. So if you think about if you have chronic kidney disease or you're late stage, you've got to be constantly monitoring for that as you stage through that. So, one of the things with the assisted living communities for the residents, they don't want to have to travel to 15 different specialists. They don't want to have to, go out to be able to do this. So this allows them to be able to build that back into their wellness programs, and so they can do the screening and monitoring right there in their own facility.
Great. Some practical questions here. I'm just going to group these all together. Have your users found the toilet easy to use? How easily installed is the toilet, and what is involved in maintenance, if anything? And then, is it ADA compliant?
So answer the last one first. Yes, it is ADA compliant. Second one, it's a smart toilet. It still has to be a toilet. And so all the dimensions, all the fit ups, all the everything the same. The only thing unique you have to have is you have to have a GFCI outlet, and you have to have Wi-Fi capability. Similar to a smart toilet. If you're installing one of those, that's what you have. But a plumber can install it. There's nothing special there. As far as the consumer, from a maintenance standpoint, it comes with a standard 2-year warranty. Our reliability tests right now, as we're going through our verification and validation, we're upwards to 4 to 5 years before we're seeing any type of early, failures or anything. So, and if we do, we have extended warranties that are also offered as part of that for the consumer market. For the B2B, for the assisted living, those are enterprise sales. So they'll have service agreements. So all the preventative maintenance, all the, anything that goes on that will just be part of the way the contracts are set up.
Great. So a couple of questions from the audience about cost. So what's the pricing model? Can it be CMS reimbursed? And then there was also a question around, it seems difficult to retrofit a bunch of existing toilets. So,
okay. So I'll start with the last again. So yeah, this isn't meant to be a retrofit. This is a toilet. So you purchase, like if you're replacing a toilet in your bathroom now, you go to Lowe's, Home Depot, if you're a consumer, or you'll buy it online, they'll have a plumber install it. So we're not retrofitting existing toilets there. As far as the cost of the consumer, early on in low volumes, we're targeting about smart toilets. If you go buy a Toto or a Kohler or just that has a bidet, heated seat, and everything, they're about $8,000. $8,000 to $12,000 depending on the model. This one has all of that plus all these health features we're talking about, and we'd be starting at about $5,000 would be the ASP on the consumer market. We have financing options that could be financed if you're remodeling your house. You could bring it, financing to that. We also have our own financing plan that you could use as well. At volume and with some continued work on our spectrometer, we plan to get down to about the $2,900, $3,000 ASP at about year 2 or 3. So it's getting closer, moving down market a little bit than from just the kind of integrated smart user market now.
Great. A couple of questions from our network on how the AngelMD community might be able to help. I always love this question. Do you need elder care and home health introductions? Who are your ideal strategic partners, and are you looking for additional physician advisors? If so, what specialties? So that was a lot, but all about what we can do to help you.
No, absolutely. And that's actually what I'm looking really forward to as well, beyond, potential, if there's investors that are interested in joining as well here. But yeah, I mean, we have to do our design validation. The way this works is you have to collect data, so you have to collect lots of data. So we'll be looking to partner with a few, and we have a few right now, strategics that have really good wellness programs that we can actually just integrate in to be able to do our design validation. There also is a third market. It's kind of, we haven't focused a lot on, and I kind of skipped over the reimbursement on that last one, and it kind of touches on that as well. There is with COVID and all the reimbursement that opened up on kind of home health or mobile health, as well as telehealth with physicians, which, of course, you can on average, get, $300 to $500 per patient, per year. And as what it does more than that is it actually allows you to double the size of your practice. So it allows a nice little revenue stream. And you can potentially go down there. What would that mean is you would prescribe it to a user. It would be like a lease program, and then you would just have to follow the 6 reimbursement codes every month to be able to do that. Additional reimbursements, of course, available with the assays, which I didn't go into a lot of detail on the technology, just given the time. But why we chose this technology is unique is because it's very inexpensive, and it can also be highly multiplexed. So you can look at, for example, if you look at chronic kidney disease, you can look at 8 different, you can look at 8 different things on that single chip for very inexpensive. So you can give it a very complete output for, specific disease. And of course, those are reimbursable as well. So.
Very good. Speaking of your assays, there is a question from the audience on, are you partnering with someone to develop and manufacture those assays, or how does that work?
It'll be a combination of both, and that really comes down to intellectual property. And like it is, I've spent 25 years developing, diagnostic equipment and assays, and genomic, and that's just what it comes down to is access to intellectual property. So in some of those, we'll be using, it depends on the what we're looking for. It's a protein, whatever we're looking at, the actual technology that we're using. If it's PCR, others to be able to, do the diagnostic.
Great. Well, Chad, thank you again for being here. We have several questions that we did not get to this evening, but we like to end on time, and I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to get feedback for you. Again, great presentations tonight. Thank you to all our presenters. Exciting to hear about these really interesting products tonight. So in wrapping up this evening, we will send a follow-up communication out tomorrow or Thursday, which will have links to not only the videos that of the presentations that were presented tonight, but also our Pitch Club extension videos. We will also give you information about the Pitch Club LinkedIn group that I mentioned. We would love to have the conversation continue there. In addition to giving the feedback from the polls to our presenters this evening, we also give them all of the questions that were asked after their presentation, so they can answer those that were not answered live, as well as the ability to answer some of the others in more detail because they'll have more time. I also want to make sure that all of you join us for our next Pitch Club, which is going to be Innovation in the Field of Oncology on Tuesday, June 22nd. And we will have information about that as well. Again, if you want information and connections to any and all of these presenters here this evening, we will include links to their AngelMD profile. We can also make those connections directly to the CEOs and founders, because I know they want to answer those questions about investment, about advisors, about all of those things that many of you asked this evening. So we really appreciate it. Lastly, Again, details on the Impact Investing Summit that Mike mentioned will be coming also in that email tomorrow. And we take, as I mentioned, in addition to sending the videos out, we also put them on the AngelMD YouTube channel. We would love for you to join us there. You can see videos from these presentations as well as previous Pitch Club presentations. So take a look at that. And again, as Jennifer mentioned, we are always looking for great startups to feature in our AngelMD Pitch Club. We're getting a lot of exciting applications, and it's so much fun to learn about the innovative projects that are going on out there. So thank you for everyone who's in attendance tonight. Thank you so much for all of your feedback and participating in our polls. I'm going to have to say we're going to have to do better. We didn't get over 50%, I think, on any of them, but we will do better in the future. I have faith, and we will sign off because, as I mentioned, we like to end on time. So thank you to everyone who joined us, and have a great rest of your evening.